Just other things
That
that
maternal
happen.
health, that maternal health
Yes,
disparity that we see in our medical fields. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes it isn't until
Welcome back to Two Things Can Be True. I'm Frankie Foster, and this is the Two Things Can Be True podcast, the space where we hold honest conversations about growth, about healing, about becoming who we are as women. Today, we're sitting down with someone who is not just a friend of mine, but also a mentor and a super powerhouse in business. And she is a doctor of nursing. She's a mentor. She is a woman who has dedicated her life to caring for other people, not just here, but also overseas in our armed forces. I am so proud of her. I'm so proud to call her my friend. We're talking about friendship, mentorship, rebuilding life after divorce, managing menopause, perimenopause for me, because I'm young. Perimenopause for me. Okay, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but perimenopause for me. And what it really means for Black women to prioritize ourselves in a world that asks us to just carry everything. I present to you, introduce to others, my friend, my girl, Dr.
Anita Gould.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I am so excited that you've asked me to come join you today.
When I tell you how proud I am, this lady flew from San Antonio, Texas. San Antonio, Texas. Not Houston, where everybody going to be the new strippers or the new influencers, but she is in San Antonio, Texas. She is an educator. She is a retired major, lieutenant colonel in the Army, lieutenant colonel. Period. Okay. Look, I lost count of the major. Lieutenant colonel, retired from the military, but mostly my friend. How did we get together? Do you
So
remember?
our daughters, yes, our daughters was cheerleaders at age 4 and 5, I
4 and
believe.
5.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And what? Mine is 29 now, so
And mine is 28.
yes.
Yep. And so we were at Gym Tech, the best you ever saw. Okay. She still be doing that cheers. Like, we still remember those cheers of trying to get them to remember that. But I just remember being up in that parent room, knowing I could barely afford to have my child in that program because that was expensive. Like, if you have done competitive cheerleading, that is expensive. Can you agree to that?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that is not extracurricular activity. That is an extra bill. Okay, if your child is in competitive cheerleading, and I just remember one woman being so sweet and so nice and so welcoming, and that was Dr. Anita Gould. So, how are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm enjoying this new stage in my life after being retired,
Hmm.
and just starting over again, starting having a second career, but at this point in my life, able to be my own boss and be in control of my own schedule.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely wonderful.
So I feel like you and I met in such an interesting season, like that season of being, we were both single moms. And I think that's how we connected, was
Mhm,
that we were both single moms. We were both professional single moms, which I
mhm,
feel like that is a whole different situation
mhm.
when you are also trying to build your career to make a life for your kids, but a better life for your kids, but also trying to be as present as you can. What do you remember about that time for
I
yourself, for
remember
your journey?
being really tired, being really
Always.
tired, but the sacrifice was worth it
Mhm.
because we wanted our children to have so much more than we ever
Yes.
did. Um, and and that was the whole goal, no matter what, to give them a better life than we had. And if we had to sacrifice ourselves, our time, our
Yeah.
energy, our money, we were going to make sure they had a better life than what we had and be that example they needed to be, and to be present, especially in the educational system, because it was important for them to know that we are present in our children's lives and active in their education.
Right. And I think where you and I connected was both of our children were also enrolled in Pinehurst Christian School, which that
Mhm,
was different, was that we were both enrolled in school, but we were also both in gym tech,
mhm,
and just having that partnership of somebody who's like, okay, you can't come on this day. I'm gonna come on this day. You like really facilitated
mhm,
that. I was like, I didn't even think to ask somebody to
mhm.
help me, like to find a friend who was in the same space as me, and I thank you for that. So talk about that. What put you in that? What was it about your lifestyle that put you in that space to say, you know, I cannot do this by myself. Like,
Mhm.
I have to put myself out there, be vulnerable, make friends, and especially in a world where people are like, no new friends,
Mhm.
no new friends environment.
So I think, well, for one, I loved your energy
Mhm.
and that I was just absolutely drawn to that too. But being in the military,
Yeah.
there is a whole different lifestyle that you have. And unfortunately, a lot of times we have to trust other people with our children because
Yeah.
we have to do what's called family care plans. And so earlier in my career, I learned you always had to depend on other people. And usually in the military communities, you're like your own family.
Yeah.
But doing that, sometimes you have to learn to, you got to depend on the people around because
Hmm.
you're, a lot of times your family is nowhere near. I grew up in a little town called Austin, New York, and here I am down in Columbus, Georgia. I had no family around, so we had to depend on other people, and the military was one of those, the institutions that put that in your mind to let you know you have to depend on other people. And I also feel like God helped me to see through you and
Hmm.
your spirit, and that you're trusting, and I think we just clicked and we were
Yeah.
able to trust each other. So that's kind of how that happened.
So I feel like we both talked about what it means to rebuild and to build during a major shift in life. I know for me, when we met, I was just like, I knew that basically, I think I had come to the realization that I was going to do this on my own. And meeting women like you helped me to see how important it was to have a village around you. How important was your village to you in your growth through your military career and then into now?
Oh, everything, everything.
Hmm.
And I think that comes into just having friendships, having a village, having you. No one can do it alone,
Hmm.
right? You just can't, no matter how much you want to do it alone. We're not meant to be alone, and
Yeah.
I just believe you have to trust in other people. But I think every single place I was in the military, someone was always put in that space for me. I
Hmm.
never had to do without, whether it was with time, whether it was money, whether it was friendships, and somebody was always put in that place. Every place I've ever been in the military over 30 years,
Yeah.
and in this place here, it was you and a couple other women, another great friend that I have here, Donna. And
Yes.
so there was several of you here, and it just, it was automatic. You just knew.
Yeah.
So people were just automatically put in your place. It wasn't like I didn't even ask for those people. They just showed up and we clicked.
So we know that that trusting people with your kids is not always the easiest thing. So,
Mhm.
as a single mom, as a professional woman, what was it that in you that said, you know what, I have to trust other people with my kids?
The military, because we didn't have a choice.
You have a
We
choice.
didn't have a choice because they told you, you had to have a short-term and a long-term care plan,
Mhm.
and so you had a short-term meant if you had to have somewhere where you can leave your kids in a matter of 72 hours if you happen to leave, and then you had to have a long-term one for a year, and so, that's just kinda how I wanted you had to. You didn't want to, and sometimes that could be looked frowned upon from our actual biological families because it's like,
Yeah.
I can't believe you would leave your child there or do this, but you just it was something that you had to do.
If you wanted that
Um,
better life for your kids,
right. And so it was not something I wanted to. It was something I didn't have a choice to do.
for sure.
Mhm.
And I think the thing I remember most about you is just how you were never willing to say, like, to take no for an answer.
Mhm.
I think I was a person that if somebody said no, I'd be like, "Oh, fuck that. I got to go. They ain't gonna help me. I got to go."
Mhm.
But I feel like you were the first person who showed me that no, you cannot take no for an answer, because if you just take no for an answer, you're gonna be left with whatever you're letting that person determine your fate.
Mhm.
And it's like, and I don't know, I don't know if that's what you meant to communicate to me, but that's how I took it. Was I was just like, okay, no more can I just allow people to just say no, and it's okay. Where did you get that from? Where did you feel like I cannot just take what people tell me?
Well, I think I looked at it like you can ask someone something and
Hmm.
that's all they can do is tell you no, but if they did, and I'll just give an example, just certain times if I wanted to apply for a certain job or a certain school or just whatever,
Yeah.
if I was told no, I'm like, okay, I need to know a reason why are you telling me no? Okay, if it was the military, you know what, I'm
Yeah.
going to put in an exception to policy and try this another route, or and what do they say, closed mouths don't get fed.
Closed mouth don't get fed. I tell my kids that all the time. For sure. Go ahead.
So it just really depends on what the situation is, on when and if you should accept no. Because I also, as I got wiser in years, sometimes no is your protection, and
Oh,
so sometimes it's not always good to push past the no because, like I said, sometimes God is trying to protect you for something. It was a reason that
yeah.
you were told no, because sometimes when we try to push things and do things with our own agenda,
Hmm.
it makes things a little bit harder in the long run, and we kind of brought that on ourselves.
For sure.
Mhm.
And I think another thing that I want to shift gears just a little bit, because you weren't always a single mom.
Mhm.
You were also one of my first mentors who got married, who, like, you were living the dream,
Mhm.
married to a fellow officer in the military.
Mhm.
And for us as single girls, we were like, "Oh, that's so amazing."
Mhm.
What is that like when you get into a situation like that, and maybe it isn't all um that we romanticized it to be as young single moms? Like, we romanticized meeting that perfect guy, having the big home, having the lifestyle that we thought, oh, that was going to make me happy.
Mhm.
What was it like getting into that space, and realizing that that was not the utopia that maybe we made it out to be?
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a
I
mouthful.
know that's a
That is a
lot.
mouthful right there.
Yeah.
So I think you have to start learning when you're married. You being married and loving someone is a choice. You actually have
Mhm.
to choose that person every day. And so I look at it is, things is not always going to be perfect. Both of my grandparents, they were married till death do us part,
For sure.
literally.
Mhm.
And so you look at that and it's like, people had to have obstacles. They had to overcome certain things to withstand that. And so I think also you look at some of those things that it's not as perfect in some worlds. It looks perfect to people on the outside. And I say
Yeah.
you never actually know what's really going on in people's house, but certain things do look perfect on the outside. uh, and they are not always perfect,
Mhm.
as perfect as they seem. But you try and you try and you try, and then you start in. You got to get to a place you're weighing the pros and the cons and
Mhm.
saying, is this really worth it? And and to me, a very hard decision had to be, um, do I want to be another statistic and be divorced and be something that I didn't see from my grandparents?
Mhm.
But or then I had to look at another thing. Is it better for my children to see a dysfunctional household
Yeah.
or to see a happy single household? And so those are some of the things that I really had to look at hard within myself
Mhm.
and learn to forgive myself for making the decision to have to get divorced.
Yeah.
Um, but it's so many different ways to go
To go
in
with
that
that, for sure.
conversation. Yeah, yeah.
So, what is something you learned about yourself in that season that you didn't know before, but that has carried you to where you are today?
Um, you have to really learn to love yourself.
Mm.
You have to learn to forgive yourself,
Oh, what does that look
um,
like, forgiving yourself?
because sometimes um, just forgiving yourself is for you to move on, to be healthy, because just like you have to forgive other people as well.
Yeah.
Um, so if you don't forgive, really that could eat at you inside physically.
Mhm.
It could cause you to have headaches and stress and GI issues and all kind
Oh
of
my gosh.
different things. So if you want to be here another 20, 30, 40 years,
Yeah.
you have to forgive yourself so you don't eat yourself up inside physically and mentally and emotionally.
I think a lot of women deal with things like GI issues and they feel like that's just normal,
Mm.
or not using the bathroom for weeks. As a health professional, what would you say to women who maybe are feeling physical these physical symptoms of being in distress, of being in trauma? What does that look like for someone who might be physically experiencing those things?
Oh, there. So I think, especially in the Black communities, we were not always taught that it's okay to talk to people. It is okay to talk to a counselor, things like that. And I think mental health is coming more to the forefront. Okay, and it is okay to talk to someone,
Mhm.
but certain symptoms, you can have headaches. Your skin could break out, like you said. You can have nausea, diarrhea, vomiting. Um, just high blood pressure, a
That sounds
multitude of
like a good
things.
night. That sounds like kinda like I've been out having a good time. But you're saying that that could actually be not just, "Oh, I had a good time," but when it goes beyond that morning after, it could be signs of trauma.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but I think it's so very important. So we look at sisterhood, and sometimes it's good to talk to people. We had a great relationship over the years. We
Yeah.
may not have talked every day, but we could not talk for a year and come and pick up like we
Right.
just saw each other yesterday. So sometimes, though, if you can't talk to someone, if you don't have someone that you feel could be non-judgmental, it's okay to speak to someone else. It's okay because that is healthy, talking to
Yeah.
someone. And I actually co-authored a book where I actually talk about us being able to um, it's okay to get a counselor and speak to people, but
Mhm.
that is really critical in our communities. And a lot of times, years ago, if you see somebody walking down the street, you'd be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that ain't nobody but Crazy Bob. That ain't nobody." And looking back in the day, people were bipolar, had schizophrenia, and if
And you
Black
had no
communities
idea.
looked more and thought it was okay to go seek counseling,
Mhm.
they could have gotten help and not ended up on the streets. But I digress.
Well, let me ask you too. I wanna touch on something that I always thought was so beautiful, was that even in your deployments, even as you as my mentor, I feel like you had a group of sisters
Mhm.
who helped you through, whether it was deployment, whether it was just being in the military, being a Black woman in the military, which I think that is a totally different experience that people do not, that they kind of discount sometimes.
Mhm.
um, what can you say about the friendships that you built in the military that sustained you throughout those 30 years?
So I think I've had at least one good friend every single place I've been in the military. And no matter where I go, I can reach out if I go to a new city that I probably knew someone there. But I have a group of girls. We called each other the Golden Girls, or
The
for the
GGs?
nickname is the GGs, right? And
And the
so
GGs don't play, okay? The GGs do not play about each other.
yes. So we
Okay.
actually had our a 20-year anniversary. We all deployed together to Iraq back November
Yeah.
of 2003 to November 2004. And we still talk or check in almost every day still until this
Love it.
day. And I think because we had that common bond of that experience of deploying together. And so we just make sure we're always okay. You know, we
Mhm.
check, like I said, we check in. Last year we took a trip for our 20-year anniversary, and we kind of coined it going back to the sand. So instead of going back to Iraq, we went to Dubai.
Period.
Yes.
Period.
And so there was a lot of women over the years that said, we want to be a GG. And we was like, it's not some club. It was
It's
just
not a club.
we just experienced something together, and we just always remained friends. But for that trip, we invited a lot of different people to come with
Yeah.
us, that we went to, that went with us on that trip. So but we have been there. We've been with each other through divorce, through losing children, through marriages, through just all kind of ups and downs, surgeries. And sometimes, those were the people there with you when a lot of times your biological family couldn't be there with you. And
Yeah.
so it's important to, it's almost like, you got AA, or,
Mhm.
whatever type of support group is, you
I
have
feel like
something
being a
that's
Black woman in
common.
America, especially in
Yeah.
corporate America, requires a support group for
Yes,
sure.
when you have something in common, it gives you a bond,
Yeah.
So my GGs, they have been everything to me. So yeah.
So, what has been the process as you've transitioned out of the military, being a parent of adults? Because
Mhm.
we both are parents of adults, but you also still have kids at home. How has that been, that dynamic been of managing having adult children versus having children who are still in the home?
So which one do you want me to focus on? More transitioning from the military first, or the children portion, or the
I think
combination?
the children part.
Um, so there was never a parenting book,
Yeah.
and it's always a work in progress. And I learned that no parent is perfect.
Nope.
And a lot of times we've done the best that we could with the tools that we had at that given time.
Hmm.
And so, having adult children, one of the things I've had to learn is I have to parent them differently because the older ones are adults.
Yeah.
And that's a lot to think about, when you still have younger children too. So you really have to communicate with them differently, the older children. And then sometimes as they talk back and forth to each other, as they have influence, you have to let those older ones know you need to make sure you have a positive
Positive
impact
influence.
on those young ones, because the
Yes.
younger ones still got to follow my rules because
Okay.
they're living at
You
home
might be able to
in
go
my
off on your
house.
own.
So, don't put them out there to dry, because I'm gonna have to reel them back in.
Right,
So yeah.
exactly. So, tell me about this process of adulting, of parenting adults, but also making a new life for yourself, and what that looks like.
So you have to start to look at, you don't owe your children a lot of explanations
Mhm.
about things. And as you're parenting those adults, you still have to live your life.
Yeah.
In which I think it goes back to being even any relationship and important. It's very important to still date each other, no matter how long you've been together, because one day those children are going to grow up and be gone. And
Hmm.
so you can't forget about you. You still need to have your own interests. You still need to do things. And then those children need to also learn you can't be selfish, because mommy was Anita before you came about.
Before I was
Yes.
mommy.
And
Yes.
so Anita still needs to be Anita, after you are grown and gone. And I don't have to ask your permission to be Anita.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I love that. You definitely don't have to ask your kids permission. Let's switch gears a little bit. You are also a dynamic businesswoman.
Mhm.
You've had a day spa. You also have since retirement moved into self care. Basically putting us in our soft girl era. Like everything you do is like synonymous with soft girl era. Whether it is the O shots, whether it is the P shots, the whether it is a little Botox. I mean, we got to keep it tight, keep it
Mhm.
right. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So tell me about that. Why do you think it is important, especially for Black women, to focus on what makes them feel good?
Mhm.
And it doesn't always involve a nip and a tuck.
Right. Um, just what you said, because you need to feel good. You have to take care of you. If you, a lot of time as Black women, we're always taught we have to be strong.
Hmm.
Um, we have to bottle a lot of things up. We are so busy taking care of other people that we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah,
And at the end of the day, if you don't take care of yourself and something happens to you, then what? Right? So and or also in order to take care of other people, you have to take care of yourself. If you look at when you go onto a plane, right, what do they tell you? When that oxygen mask drops, they
hmm,
tell you to put the mask on yourself first before you help anybody
for
else,
sure.
right? And so there's so many people that they're like, oh no, I got to do it myself, but because I mean I have to put it on my child first because they're the most important. Yeah, but if you pass out,
Then
it,
who's gonna put it on your child?
exactly, exactly. So, just self care is essential. It's actually critical. I mean, just something as simple as if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that
Mhm.
bottom level of the pyramid is air, water, food, and shelter. So you have to be able to take care of yourself, pour into yourself before you can reach that peak of self actualization at the top of the pyramid.
For sure. And I feel like as Black women, we've been conditioned to be okay with discomfort.
Mhm.
And that is not normal. But I feel like our bodies are always communicating. What are some things that women who may be listening that they can listen out for, that where their body may be communicating that discomfort is not should not be a standard for
Mhm.
our livelihood?
Just um any type of little signs that are just not normal,
Hmm.
we shouldn't dismiss them. So I mean, we talked about a few of GI issues and things like headaches and stuff before, but sometimes if you have some type of little tingling, especially if it's on one side of the body
Hmm.
and not the other, or we took you briefly talked in the introduction about perimenopause and menopause. That is a big thing that we don't realize. When your estrogen levels start to drop, there are so many things that it affects.
Hmm.
And some of the things we don't realize, people always think when they're getting older and they start having aches and pains, they're like, oh, I'm just getting older or it's arthritis. But people don't realize when your estrogen levels drop, it affects your tendons. And so when those tendons are affected, that is one of the things that cause you to have joint pain that
Oh,
people
wow.
don't realize. There's also things like, you start having low libido or your hair starts thinning
I'm not
or
even going there.
um,
I'm not even going there. I'm not even
you
going
you
there.
know all of a sudden you all snappy and you
Hmm.
wondering why you taking people's head off when all they did is ask you for a cup of water.
Right.
So there's many things you are fatigued, and you're not drinking enough water, you're dehydrated. So there are many things that start occurring during perimenopause. But anything that is just not normal, you just don't feel right, you should always say something. In the Black communities, especially when you go to the hospitals, there's two key things that kind of get overlooked with Black women. A lot of times they'll just say, dismiss us to say we have heartburn if we go to the ER. And a lot of times we're dismissed and we actually will have a heart attack and we were overlooked. If you are having chest pain, if you feel like it's heartburn, get checked out. Another thing is in the OB world, so many times Black women or children, they end up dying when they're going to have babies, because they end up hemorrhaging or just other things that happen.
That maternal health
Y- Yes,
disparity that we see in our medical fields. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes it isn't until you see celebrities go through things that a little more attention is brought to it, like when Serena Williams was dealing with some issues after she had her child. That's when people start to pay more attention. But
Mhm.
these are critical things that you see all the time that you should listen. If I'm a fan of Sisters with Tyler Perry, and
Mhm.
this last
You are
season,
definitely a sister. Let me tell you, any soap opera, she like, do you watch this? I'm like, and we all have our guilty pleasures. Let's
Mhm,
be clear. We all have our guilty pleasures. Mine are the Housewives, but yours are definitely
mhm.
The Tyler Perry soap operas. But what were you going to say about
So
that?
it was in when Karen was going to have her baby, she kept telling the doctor something isn't right, something isn't right. She had chills, she was vomiting. She, what it ended up, her baby had already died inside of her.
Mm,
And they were dismissing her. She was really sick. And then she ended up having postpartum depression afterwards. But the fact that it took her, one of her friends advocating to someone else at the hospital to get their attention, because the Caucasian physician kind of just kept dismissing her, as well
right.
as the nurse that was there. So we have to speak up for ourselves. We have to be an advocate for ourselves. And don't dismiss stuff. Don't put your own health to the side to help other people, because in order to help those other people, you need to help yourself first.
I love that. Okay, so let's tell our listeners where they can find you on social media, how they can follow your program of health and wellness to receive some of your services.
So my business is called Oot Wellness and Medi Spa, and my headquarters, or my initial brick and mortar, is in San Antonio, Texas. But I actually am opening a second location in
Yes.
Atlanta, Georgia. And I've started some of the home services there. But you can find me with Facebook under Oot Wellness and Medi Spa.
Hmm. And
And
spell that. How is it
it's
spelled?
so it's Haute.
Mhm.
It's French.
It's French. Okay. Very
so
special, very exclusive.
so it
Okay.
stands for elevated, high level, sophistication. So
Sophistication.
yes, so that's what that stands for.
Okay.
But I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. So any of those places you can find me, www.haute wellness and
Very
So
nice.
that's where you can find us.
I love it. I love it. And of course, if you can't remember any of that, you can reach out to me, of course, on at So Effing Dope, and also Francine Frankie Foster on Facebook. And we're definitely going to keep this conversation going.
Mhm,
So I feel like this conversation was such a reminder that healing is just layered.
mhm,
Like it's friendship, it's mentorship, it's love, it's health,
mhm.
and it's all woven together. And I just thank you so much for being here with us today, because two things can absolutely be true. We can be healing and still whole, and we can be growing and still grateful. I am so grateful for your friendship, Dr. Anita Gould. Thank you
Thank
for
you
joining me
so much.
today. Thank
Thank
you for your
you.
wisdom, for your friendship. I
Thank you
love
for
you.
having me. Love you
Yeah.
too.
So sweet. Okay, thank you, and thank you for coming all the way from San Antonio, bitch. From San Antonio, bitch. Okay, she came to be with me, and I appreciate that. That's what your friends do for you.
Mhm,
When they see you doing something that is important to you, they show up, and I appreciate that.
mhm.
So that's gonna do it for this episode. All right. So you have been all over the world. What is your favorite country?
Oh my God, that's so hard, because first of all, there's still so many I haven't been to that I want to go to.
Uh-huh.
But I will say my favorite continent is Africa, and I've only been to one country there so far, to Uganda. I went there to do a humanitarian mission with the Soul of My Footprint, which I
Doc,
absolutely loved.
Alfie Jelks. Yep.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, yes. I was one of three providers that went on the mission a couple years ago. But um, I love traveling all over. That's one of my favorite pastimes. So um, I will say I have many other countries I want to go back and visit in Africa.
Hmm.
But I've been to most of the different islands. I've been to Bali, Indonesia. I've been to Phuket, Thailand, Dubai, Germany. Italy, Spain, France,
Korea,
Korea. Yes, I've been to Korea.
Afghanistan.
No,
You have
Iraq.
Iraq,
I was
Iraq.
in
Yes.
Baghdad, Iraq, so that's where I went to. But yes, right now I will say, well, actually, I will say one of the places where you could get the biggest bang for your buck, your
Uh-huh.
money goes really,
Okay,
really
where
far, and it's
this is
absolutely amazing and wonderful. Bali, Indonesia. I absolutely love that
I've
place.
heard that about Bali, that
Yes,
is a great place to visit.
90-minute massage for $9.
Period. That's my kind of place.
Yes,
And I bet they be doing it all. I bet it's the
the most.
stones, it's everything. Because I
Mhm,
love going to the Asian massage.
mhm,
Like
mhm.
people be looking at it like it's shady. It's not shady. Go to the Asian massage parlors. That's the epitome of soft girl era.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
for sure. So, what about your favorite food? And Anita's a foodie like I
Yes.
am. She is a foodie. That is one thing we connect on, baby. We gonna find the best place to eat, and we don't care if we gotta try
Yes, yes,
to get
yes.
it. What is your favorite food?
You ask all these hard questions and you already said it. I'm a foodie. I will try almost anything once.
You will. Yeah.
Um, I really love Cajun food.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like New Orleans
yes,
fare.
the Cajun Creole type food because I grew up in New York, so we got the best authentic of almost every nationality food.
For sure.
But the Creole and Cajun foods, I did not try those until I came into the military. So I felt like growing up, I had the Italian and the Jamaican and
Right.
the Chinese and all of the different things, but I didn't really get to taste those till I got older. But that's a hard question.
That's a hard
I'm
question.
sorry. I'm sorry. I just love all kind of stuff, but I am getting into more healthy foods, more vegan options and things that are healthier. Because when you look at healing, there are so many things that heal our body if we would eat differently, eat more
Yeah.
natural foods in its most natural state, and not cook, not frying and boiling out everything. So
What's your guilty pleasure?
I'm gonna say massages. I love getting a good massage. Yes, and anything less than 90 minutes is a tease.
Is a tease for
Yes,
sure. And
yes.
I also don't like that people feel like massage is some kind of sexual thing. It's
Mm-mm,
not sexual.
mm-mm,
Like I feel like it is totally therapeutic.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How do you know you got a good massage?
Um, just feeling more relaxed. But knowing when you get that massage, you have to drink plenty of water because when they're doing all that massaging, they're helping release all those toxins in your body. And if you don't drink enough fluids after, all of those toxins is just going to go right back into those muscles and knot them up. But I know because I could feel them work through the knots and everything. And I just remember one of the massages I had that was so good. This lady, she said, "Oh, you must curse a lot. You must
curse a lot."
And I said, she said, "Why?" She said, "You have knots everywhere." So yes,
I tell you, one time they told me that my back was like a brick. I was like, I'm like, y'all should not say that to people. Don't say that to me. But they are so honest and they're gonna tell you exactly what it is. And I just had to learn to deal with it. But when they told me, they was like, your back is like a brick. I was like, a brick?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that just told me I needed to relax.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm really doing way too much and I need to relax. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining me.
Look, we can do some.
We can do this.
The whole soft girl thing.
We
can do some. Look, I didn't even really talk about any of the services I do at my clinic, but
we did it. But I feel like you're directing them to your spot.
Yeah,
and I feel like just the conversation if they are interested.
So I started out as primary care, and then I got into a lot of the aesthetics. So like Botox filler, I do weight loss, I do a lot of sexual health stuff, body contouring. I do hormone replacement, and I usually do bioidentical, and I learned a lot about that. So I don't
what
do
was the lipo you do?
Liquid lipo.
Liquid lipo.
And I don't do synthetic hormone replacement. I do all bioidentical because it's less cancer causing and GBTs.